Good morning, everyone. It's 7:30 and we have sort of a really tight schedule, so I'm going to start us off on time. I want to welcome everybody to the 57th Annual Gatlinburg Conference here in beautiful San Diego. I'm John Colombo. I'm from the University of Kansas. It's been our privilege and pleasure to host the Gatlinburg Conference. This is our 5th year and final year, and we'll be talking about the handoff in a little bit, but I hope you all had safe travels coming and enjoy yourselves immensely while you're here. Yesterday we had some pre-conference sessions which went really well. We had a great turnout for them. I want to thank the pre-conference organizers, including Lauren Bishop. We had sort of a Gatlinburg one-on-one for folks to orient them toward the conference, and then one pre-conference session on management, and then one on career paths, and then a relatively successful welcome. I had a good time at the welcome reception, so I wanted to just note that. We have a really great lineup for the next 3 days, or today and then 2 days after. Sandra Liu is giving a keynote at 10:30 this morning. We have 4 symposia that start at 8:30. There's a box lunch today. That's really the only feeding that we'll do here. I want to especially highlight at 12:30 today. There is going to be a sponsored panel by Shinoji that is going to talk about measurement issues in clinical trials with respect to industry. And if some of you are interested in maybe pivoting away from federal funding to industry funding, you might want to think about going to that and thinking about that. But there's that, and then the other lunch item is the one on the South Beach lawn. We'll go to about 5 o'clock today, a couple of more symposia in the afternoon, and then a poster session at 5. Tomorrow, Gaia Sheriff is going to talk about attention, memory, and learning. We'll start at 8 a.m. Lunch is on your own, and then we'll end at 5. And then on Thursday, Steph Carlson will be talking about executive function and interventions. We'll start at 7:30 on Thursday and end at 3:30, and that'll be the closing remarks. One couple of things to keep this running smoothly. We have a lot of stuff. We had a lot of people submitted. We tried to fit them all in. I want to thank Anna for organizing the scientific program. We're on a very tight schedule, and so please try to stay on time. You're all going to present from your own laptops, and try to get your slides tested before you come up and present. We have the AV Catamaran staff here if there are problems. And if you can, please try to enable closed captioning on your PowerPoint and use microphones to ask your questions and answer them if you can. So, lastly, when you do come into the rooms, don't be shy. Come up to the front because we have 380 people here. Attendees, and we expect the rooms to be pretty full. So there's that. We have over 380 attendees. We had a number of new registrations yesterday, so please come up front and try that. So we've had this graphic now for a while. This is a brief history of what happened over the years with respect to the annual Gatlinburg conference. I think Frank will talk a little bit about that later on today, later on in the session as the group talks about our handoff to the next one. But it's come a long way since the 1960s when it was a group of directors of the old mental retardation research centers, now the IDDRCs, got together with NIH staff to plot out a research strategy for the field, to create the field. The Gatlinburg Conference has always been part of that. The theme for this year, as you might as you have already seen, is memory, attention, and executive function, something very close to my own heart, which is, I guess I wrote the grant for it, so the conference, so I stuck that in there. But yeah, I think it's really a critical area. There's a lot of great work going on in this area, and I hope you enjoy yourselves. Follow us on social media. Drew Rosedale, who is here, has been sort of the poobah in the grand poobah. I'm dating myself by saying that. In putting the social media together for the Gatlinburg conference, we now have a Blue Sky, we have a Facebook, we have an Instagram, and use the hashtag GatlinburgCon. Share your images at GatlinburgCon on social media as we go through the days of the conference, please. And we want to acknowledge our sponsors. It's been a tough year, and a number of folks have stepped up. A number of centers and institutes have stepped up, including University of North Carolina, the Weissman Center at Madison, UC Davis, and WashU at St. Louis. And as always, we'll acknowledge NICHD's, the R13 grant that I hold for the Gatlinburg Conference. Our exhibitors include Shinogi, Brooks, and UCLA. And I want to really, before I leave the podium, we've had an enormous amount of work put in by a number of great scientists and collaborators this year. I want to thank Anna Esbenson and Dave Hessel for putting the scientific agenda program together. Lauren Bishop was chaired the pre-conference or the Career Investigator Committee. Sunjin Kong and Lauren Schmidt oversaw the DEIA committee. There's all of you out there that responded to my emails and got your reviews in on time, and were just tremendous help for us. And it's been a privilege for me to work with all of you over the last few years in doing this. So that's it. Have a great time at the conference, and I am now going to turn it over to a consortium headed by Lauren Bishop, Brian Boyd, Jane Roberts, and Frank Simons to talk about the future of the conference from here on out. Frank.
Thanks, John. Good morning. For those of you, I'll just reintroduce myself that don't know me. I'm Frank Simons. I'm a professor in the special ed program as part of the Department of Educational Psychology at the University of Minnesota. It's also that department part of the College of Education and Human Development. I serve as in middle management there. I'm a senior associate dean of research and policy. Some of you might know me from For Good or For Bad. I've been the editor for Aged for a while now. That cycle's coming to an end, so we can talk after. And John, I noticed that when you listed all those committees, you dropped the long-standing publications committee, of which has been an N of one. I'm the chair and committee member. That's all right.
It's our publication.
Yeah, it's good. So I know we're filling in. This is an early start for the opening welcome, so I'm glad you've made it. And typically in years past, it's the last session where sort of the reveal is, or where the next Gatlinburg is going to be, or the summary of what's coming. But as John alluded in our title here, Future Gatlinburg Considerations, John and the Lifespan crew and Drew, this is the end of the 5 years. So I feel like it's kind of like the high school student council. We're running for student council. Lauren, Brian, Jane, and I have been in lots of conversations with many of you about the future of this meeting and what we're trying to accomplish in terms of the R13 and chasing that down. So we're going to make some comments on that. My part in this, though, I thought, since I'm starting to turn into one of the old guys, and I think we're probably almost 2 generations or cohorts, whatever that would be defined as, away from actually being Gatlinburg, that I was just going to review and remind and show you, some of you for the first time, when we talk about Gatlinburg, what we were talking about. That's the Lodge. So Gatlinburg is a small town in the Smoky Mountains in the middle of Tennessee, and I think John alluded to this. It grew up in the late 60s in part because the the sinks of behavioral scientists, mostly at the time, were roughly equidistant to get to Gatlinburg. So faculty and grad students would drive there from Peabody, with at that time George Peabody College for Teachers, which was independent but soon emerged with Vanderbilt and the John F. Kennedy Center. Alabama, Norm Ellis, this is Norm Ellis's brainchild. The Illinois group, Borkowski, and then North Carolina. So that was roughly equidistance to meet in this retreat and hole up at this lodge. And way back in the day, it was sort of two floors, the behaviorists on one floor and the cognitive folks on the other floor. And they would get together at the end of the day in the evening, and after a meal and some drinking, they would argue. So it was a lot of fun. Technically the title for the meeting, the conference, was the Mountain View Hotel and Motor Lodge, and I dug up a picture from about circa 1968, lovely knotty pine, and a note to feature a large color console television for your viewing pleasure. And through Bill McLean, one of our now retired but longtime Gatlinburg and somewhat of a historian, he's got all of the programs, so I had him send me some goodies. So here's the conference program cover from 1977, and then I pulled out the interior. You're not going to be able to read all that, but there's a couple things I thought I'd point out. This isn't irrelevant, actually, as we think about the future of how we're aligned and where we're headed. But for a very long time, this was partly tied in with Division 33 of APA. So for those of you who are card-carrying APAers in Division 33, there's maybe some conversations for us to have as we think about the next 5 years. The reason we keep focusing on its 5-year cycles is that our 13 conference grant is very important, if for no other reason, small p politically, intellectually, and leadership-wise, it ties us into the IDD branch of NICHD. On the balance sheet side, though, it's a very small amount of support. It's important support, but it's a small amount of support. And this conference, as John alluded to, is growing. And so that's part of our challenge, is to think about ways to support that growth in a way that's sustainable and smart, and think about other sources of support and the ways we align ourselves. Thinking of support and fees and costs, this was a little gem that jumped out at me. You registered upon arrival for the conference, and the registration was in the lobby. The registration fee was $3. You gotta like that. Okay, so actually that's I know we've got a tight timeline here this morning, so I'm gonna pause on my little bit and hand this off to Lauren, who has the actual real content stuff. Thank you, Lauren.
So we are really excited to carry on the tradition of leading the Gatlinburg Conference and making it a wonderful experience for everybody who attends. So one thing that we want to talk to you all about, that we're hoping we can get information from you on in the post-conference survey, is the idea of potentially moving this from a spring conference to a fall conference, so that it doesn't conflict with INSAR, and so that folks who are at universities with funding that is given out on a rolling basis have a better chance of applying for it and receiving for it in the fall. So we're hoping that you can fill out the conference survey at the end of the conference and tell us whether you prefer a spring conference or a fall conference. We're planning on an August 2025 submission for the R13 grant, which would align with the timing of either a spring or fall conference. And we have a co-leadership framework. We're going to do an MPI model with Frank as the contact PI, and we'll share leadership responsibilities across the 4 MPIs of the grant. And we'll have subcommittees that will be shared among the 4 of us. We also are considering the possibility of contracting with a conference planning committee to, add a little bit more conference planning infrastructure to the Gatlinburg conference, and hopefully make it a little bit less burdensome for all of our research centers and all of our staff. So in terms of the subcommittee, although Frank did a really wonderful job over the years of leading his N of 1 Gatlinburg committee, he's going to be taking on the lead of the executive committee and overall oversight of the Gatlinburg conference. And then Jane, Brian, and I will each lead one of the subcommittees, the Conference and Early Career Investigator Planning Committee, the Inclusion and Accessibility Committee, and the Peer Review Committee. We're considering several themes that would align not just with the priorities of NICHD, but also NIA, NINDS, NCATS, and other institutes that might be interested. Of course, the NIH funding and NIH institutes are in a bit of flux right now, so it will take us a little bit of time to get information on which of these agencies might have extra budget and extra infrastructure to be able to support the conference. And then we're considering locations throughout the country, from the Midwest to the Southern US and the West Coast also. I've also heard some folks tell us that they'd really like to just come to San Diego every year. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you put that in the conference survey. We're hoping to really get a lot of feedback on your thoughts about the conference and what you would like. So tell us what would be best for you and what would make you want to come to Gatlinburg every year and really become embedded in this conference as an intellectual home. So in terms of the post-conference survey, please tell us whether you prefer a fall or spring conference. Give us feedback on this, on a potential model of membership where we might, for instance, create a society for the Gatlinburg conference. And we also would love to have folks nominate themselves to be on subcommittees or nominate other people. We're wanting to increase the breadth of people who are on our subcommittees to ensure that we have representation across our entire field and across a number of identities. So please nominate yourself for a subcommittee, regardless of your career stage. And then also give us feedback on locations too. So we're all so excited to be, leading this conference for the next 5 years and really looking forward to working together and working with all of you to make this a wonderful experience. I'm also now going to transition to giving out the pre-conference awards. I have a couple of prizes. I have some Gatlinburg swag, including a notebook and some backpacks, and then we have the grand prize, which is a $50 gift card to the Catamaran Hotel that you can use at any of the restaurants. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to draw the grand prize winner, and then at the end, if you submitted a completed bingo card, come up and grab one of the pieces of swag from me. And if the winner is not in the room, I'll move on to a different person. Okay, so the person who won Gatlinburg Bingo for this year is Abigail Stiegel. Is Abigail in the room? Yay! And now I'm going to pass it over to Anna for the Gatlinburg Conference Awards, and congratulations to the award winners. Thank you.
Very happy that I was not responsible for grading all those applications, so thank you to those in the room who were responsible. My work was just responsible for then prioritizing and figuring out where we could find people to fit the different categories, because we had a lot of really stellar applications. So the award winners, I'm going to bring them up individually or by the award type. John? Because you're doing photos with them. Do you want all three Workowskis together, or do you want just one at a time? Okay, so we'll get the three Workowski winners, which it's not surprised there. We have Caitlin Cortez, Cameron Stout, and Amira Mohammed Rafi. Cameron, shake your hand as well, but I can't multitask.
All right.
Got it, thank you.
Faculty who was more doing research in disabilities, but also focused on diversity, so that's why we have that award named in his honor. Dave Zeman was one of the first scientists who was using mouse models and actually having them being reinforced with cheese. Correct? And so then we have the David Zeman Graduate Student Awards going to Caitlin Van Duzen, Monica Duran, and Mylin Liu. Lorraine Glidden just finally stepped off one of the committees, so she's retired, but still been working for a good 10 years post-retirement. She was at, what's the university she was at? It's on the east coast of Maryland.
St. Mary's.
St. Mary's, thank you. And so she was at undergraduate university, still coming here and getting really undergraduates to engage in research. So we have the Lorraine Masters Glidden Undergraduate Student Award going to Emma Smith. And then Theodore Chosen was the branch chair for for NICHD, and he passed away in his 60s, or just like he was too young. So we have the postdoctoral awards in his name going to Olivia Sargent and Jennifer Bertolo. And then APA, or American Psychological Association, Division 33, as Frank had mentioned, sponsors one of the awards to someone who's a member of Division 33. As a member of the past president of Division 33, highly recommend if you're in psychology, in any discipline of that area, joining that organization. But to win the APA Division 33 award, you have to be a member, and that award is going to Natalie Snodgrass. So thank you to all of the wonderful award winners. It was a highly competitive group, so I want to thank everybody who was submitting as a student, undergraduate, graduate, postdoc. And that is the end of the program, and then we're going to have the award winners wait for one large group photo. Anything else before we move the program over to probably a little bit of a break before the next session? Okay, wonderful. Thanks for waking up so early this morning.